Okay, welcome. Hello, friends. The Eric St. Joe podcast has begun right here in the Impact Power Sports studio. Impact Power Sports, online at impactpowersportsmi.com. They are in Rockford, Michigan, along 14 Mile Road, under new ownership. A lot of the same faces are there, but a new guy owns it. His name is Mark. Nice fella. I met him. Local guy. And, he's doing things right over there, and he wants to see you. Head over to their website, impactpowersportsmi.com. Take a look at some of the inventory that they have, ATVs, UTVs, e-bikes, motorcycles, even a snowmobile or two for you to check out. Zero-turn radius lawnmowers, if that's your thing. All there at Impact Power Sports. Thank you so much to them for being here. Chris in Buffalo says, good morning. Hilarious night last night. Good job, Kenny. That is a reference to, okay, we're doing the Ben and Eric Patreon podcast. And while we're doing it, we're reviewing the rest of Blood Moon 2. Kenny's watching on his cell phone because he's waiting to pick up his youngest child from something. Kenny has a stylus, and he realizes that while he's watching what we're doing in the Zoom participation, he's able to take whatever it is we're watching and draw on with his stylus various things. Like in one particular case, he's drawing boogers flying out of the character that we call Booger Man during the film. It was ridiculously fun. And then others got on board. Amy started to do it. Megan started to do it. It was just insanely ridiculous. All while this very, very confusing movie is playing. We were flummoxed, to say the least, with this film. We just ran it. We just rolled it. We did a lot of, I did a lot of editing on the first handful of clips from yesterday or last week, but I just rolled the rest of it. And I didn't think that, I was concerned that there'd be so many lulls that it wouldn't be that much fun, but no, it actually worked out really, really well. Just playing it and then us reacting to what? Huh? What was that? Sometimes simpler is better, I didn't think that it would work to just roll it, but I think it worked better than the first time with reviewing the clips, because I went back and I would edit them and try to have, which it was fine, but I think this was more entertaining. I know that I felt like I enjoyed it better. Chris says, thanks to Jimmy for sharing. Megan says, who is Casey? I don't even remember that part. Was Casey the guy who sold the gun to Paul? Some of you are like, we don't even know what the fuck you're talking about, Easy. I think at some point we can do this as how you see Rocky Horror Picture Show and it's like the first time every time. I think there's all sorts of new jokes that can come out of these. So next year, let's pencil in for consecutive weeks a Blood Moon screening And then the following week, Blood Moon 2. Let's plan on that. At about this time of the year, we can do that. Fraudulent Science Theater 2000. Says Chris in Buffalo. Megan says, plus Booger Man was able to get Paul to say something about Blood Moon 3, 4, and 5. Yeah, this is weird. You know, I mean, in the universe, in the Blood Moon canon, this one was such a strange vibe. You know, it's kind of like in the Halloween movie franchise. You had Halloween, and then you had Halloween 2, and then there was Halloween Season of the Witch, which was fucking weird. This was like that on steroids. All right, so if you missed it on Patreon last night, the Ben and Eric Patreon podcast, the review of Jimmy's film Blood Moon 2. This is absolutely something that you need to see and you need to be a part of. So go to my Patreon and check it out for 7 days so you can enjoy this as well. In addition to that, as Kenny writes, sorry for drawing all over your movie, Jimmy. Love ya. No, I don't think his feelings are hurt. Don't forget, Jimmy didn't make the movie. He's an actor in the film. He had a different role in the second film than the first one. The first one, he was key in the writing of the film. Paul decided to do this on his own. He went rogue. And from a continuity standpoint and confusion standpoint, this movie was a turd. Blood Moon 2 made Blood Moon 1 look like The Shining. Chris describes it perfectly. Jimmy's just the actor. Whoops. Sorry about that. I suspected something was wrong because I saw some comments. No sound, easy. A second ago, I had to cough. So I hit the cough button, which muted my mic. And then I didn't unmute it. Ding dong. Chris writes, sent you outtakes from the movie. LOL, I couldn't get enough last night. Hang on, I got to drink this coffee. Everything's messed up now. We also had another edition of Who Are These Free Beers? It was, we drilled down on a lot of topics. And Ben and I together had more than 30 clips of our heroes from this past week. Most of them audio, some video clips. But, yeah, we covered a lot of ground. Something that we did not cover was something that actually happened yesterday on their show. And I was taking the dogs for a walk, and I knew this topic was coming. But the walk ended, so I stopped listening. And I didn't hear it. But Greg had teased it. And what he teased was coming up in the next segment, something about talking sexy. From what I understood before people started telling me what happened, he was doing a segment where audience, the guys on the show and the girls had to like read something that's inherently not sexy and read it in a sexy style voice and try to make it sexy. Now, I'll be honest with you. When I hear that on the premise, I'm like, well, that could be funny. I mean, I'm not really sure how it's going to unfold. I know that they have a history of bits that aren't so well thought out. So who knows how this will unfold. And then I did not listen. Ben, however, did. And he's been sending me clips. You gotta check out who reads it sexiest from yesterday. Talk about shit. He writes, I wrote, LOL, you are not the first person to mention this to me. Holy crap, I can't wait. He says, make sure you check it out on the webcam. Freebeer has a smile the whole time. And then he sent me some clips of some Freebeer super laughs. In fact, I can probably just play you the audio from what Ben sent. Okay, hang on a second.
Driver, I don't even know her. Now, most importantly, you can't forget.
Okay, so Freebear super laugh. Something Maitland says. We covered that yesterday. How about this one?
We're getting somewhere, aren't we?
Okay, you got to stop that. You must rein that in. Ben then sent this. He says, the last text that Greg reads is the winner.
I just kind of came to in the garage holding a handful of screws, and I don't know why. Just tuned in from Tennessee. I'm so confused what's going on, but it's very soothing. This one, I just got up, but I don't know why. Now I feel like I need to go back to sleep. And then this is a horribly boring bit.
Now I can't judge this yet. I got to hear it from beginning to end. Before I can officially judge. But it's not looking good. Linda says, Greg thinks of Maitland every time. Oh, my God. Greg thinks of Maitland every time he bangs his Snoopy-nosed wife. Holy fuck. Excuse me. All right. Snoopy-nosed wife. Excuse me. Damn it. Hang on. I'm going to mute the mic again. I promise to turn it back on this time. Chris writes, subject line, who can read it sexier? What the fuck? Easy. I'm sure you have already been tipped off or noticed the segment, but just in case, who can read it sexier was an actual segment on their show today and was such a pile of steamy shit, I couldn't even force myself to listen to the entire thing. You know, I don't know. I'm just going by what Ben said and what this guy said. I haven't listened to it, but it's not entirely impossible to even put into perspective that when there's something in the room that makes the people in the room laugh, it doesn't always translate to the rest of the audience. It becomes more self-indulgent, entertaining to them only. But what I heard there, even though there's a Greg super laugh, I'm still holding out hope on the bit. I think it can still be funny. You know, I love to throw them under the bus just as much as the next guy. But I have to be fair. Anyway, Chris writes, also, it took me a while to realize how bad the show had gotten over the years before I went to yours. And that was with me skipping huge chunks of their show daily. I don't know how anyone can still listen and say, hey guys, that sexy Reed bit was one hell of a segment. He continues, I'm embarrassed for myself for not switching over sooner. If I had heard your Who Are These Free Beers show when you first started doing them, I surely would have switched sooner. I only listen to Free Beer and Hot Wings show now so I can send you content to make your show even better. Hopefully word gets out about your weekly Who Are These Free Beers to these poor fans of the FBHW show so they can also come to the realization that the show is no longer good and it's okay to feel that way. Now I'm going to pause there, and I have said that for the longest time. You don't like to say goodbye to something that you've invested so much time to. I think back to when I watched TV shows like Lost or The Sopranos or Game of Thrones, where they kind of lost their way somewhere during it, and then you're like, I don't want to stop, though. I don't feel like I should, but oh, God. Problem with this is there's no end in sight here. Those shows had a finite run. So I know a lot of the people, I'm speaking directly to you, who may be poking around on this show now. That's what you're going through. You're just not ready to admit it yet. It doesn't hurt you to just stop listening. It's okay to stop listening. He says, I was a loyal listener of the show dating back to 2008. And it was hard at first to go against them. But when fake bits and the consistency of shit segments, either stolen from Reddit or, he writes, or their mailer given to them daily. I'm not sure what that means. Maybe the prep service is what he's referring to. I was like, fuck you guys. He says, I appreciate the work that you put into your show, Zane. I don't think many people understand how hard it is to do a monologue type podcast. Let me pause there. It's not hard now. It's second nature now. There was a time when it was very difficult. Thank God people stuck with me enough to where I could get to a point where it's like, yeah, you can do this. It's a little strange to be talking to a camera and a microphone, but the audience does an excellent job of interacting with me. So they in the chat, so they do a good job of. That's my text line. That's my phone into the show line. He says, if listeners can get used to the monologue type of show you put out and actually listen to the content, they will realize the night and day quality between the two shows. It was great hearing Diana join the show after Halloween. I think getting more friends, family, or fans involved into your show will only make it better. Keep up the great work and know that your show will keep gaining listeners with the amount of work you're putting into it. Thanks for the great podcast, signed Chris M. Thank you, Chris. You're very kind. I wrote, I'm glad you're on board. I did hear from a few people about this garbage segment as it is described to me. I will review and will report. As you know, as I have done more than once, and so has Ben, when Free Beer and Hot Wings do a show that's good, I give it credit all the time. I do that. Linda points out that her comment of Greg thinks of Maitland every time he bangs his snoopy-nosed wife She says she almost fell off the treadmill typing that. Worth it. Bob mentions the show The Walking Dead. Similar. Yes. Jeremy says, I want to post a new thread on their subreddit every week just titled, What Were the Good Segments This Week? Yeah, do it. Linda says, yeah, you should. Just call it Best Segments of the Week so they'll think it's positive. Jeremy says, I think this is a great idea just to see 0 comments. Linda says, or we'll get insight into what their dumb fuck audience finds funny. Yeah, I'm not going to go out and call the audience of the Free Beer and Hot Wings show dumb fucks. I'm going to say, though, that their brains are clouded. All right? Because, like Chris there, he was a dumb fuck audience member. He's not anymore. So I guess we can call them that, knowing that they can very easily unfuck themselves if they can get out of that shit. You're brainwashed. Jesus Christ, you're like Trump supporters, God damn it. By the way, I got a lot of compliments about EZ's election coverage. Thanks for the show today, writes Chris D. It was refreshing to hear it brought up, honestly, and taken lighthearted. Most people would shy away from it, so thank you. We obviously all were watching it unfold. It's silly when people don't speak about current events in fear of losing audience members. There was another comment on Reddit by the person known as Styx Swim Champ. I think I know who that is, but I don't. I knew who that was at one point, but I don't remember it. Styx Swim Champ says, just wanted to say I enjoyed the show as an election postmortem. After what feels like decades of my life, trudging through the sludge of hatred, despair, mistrust, and people just being insufferable assholes to each other, this was good content to just exhale and carry on my day with. I think a lot of us needed that, and I hope everyone has an Eric Zane to continue on with daily life with. Patrick follows up with, it's cool that Zane acknowledged politics and what's happening in the world. A lot of people steer away from these conversations, but Zane never does. I agree with most of the views he has, but disagree on how to fix them. I do enjoy listening to different ideas and opinions, even if I don't agree. The overwhelming majority of the audience gets it and is fun to interact with. This guy writes, Trump, baby! And then Patrick says that he just found an insufferable asshole. And I'm like, whatever. They won. They earned the day. Let it roll off your back. Thanks for the kind words. That's the only advice I'll give about how to feel. Jeremy says, where are Tophus and Joe? Joe made an appearance yesterday. He suggested that there was election fraud, which is the only person who I have heard say that anywhere. I don't think there was any election fraud. I don't think anybody believes that. Tophus, I don't know. Tophus is usually on the chat. He's very vocal. Nick always fucks with him. Nick in the arena always tries to get him to fucking freak out by saying nasty shit. So, but he was, big time left, super left, and he wears his heart on his sleeve. So, and I hope he's okay. I haven't heard from any of my dark blue friends. I've seen a lot of people that have discussed at length about what went wrong. It seems like that's been a thing online, from journalists to people on Reddit. This reason why they lost, that Harris lost, that reason why Harris lost. And I'm like, it's so easy to do that, with hindsight being what it is. I have no idea. And it really doesn't matter. I saw one on Reddit that Chris D shared with me. And this guy, like, he unpacked so much shit about why he voted for Trump. And I'm like, who the fuck has time for that shit? Bernie Sanders, though, is somebody that I like. I like Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders talked about this very thing. I want to share that. This is a news release from Bernie Sanders. He writes, it should come as no great surprise that a Democratic Party, which has abandoned working class people. This is like the only person that I would read and give it any thought to. I like this guy. Anybody else, I'm like, yeah, whatever. Democratic Party, which has abandoned working class people, would find that the working class has abandoned them. He writes, first it was the white working class, and now it is Latino and black voters as well. You know it's bad when, from election to election, like if you were to compare the Latino vote from the last election to this election, Harris won the Latino vote, but not by much, like less than 10 percentage points. In the previous election, Biden had 30 to 35% more Latino vote than Trump. That's saying something. And think about that. You've got a president now, president-elect, who has said that he's going to deport the Mexicans. And he's got Tony Hinchcliffe talking shit about Latinos at a rally, and his Latino numbers were through the roof. Wow. The Latinos and the blacks loved Trump in this election. Bernie goes on to say, while the Democratic leadership defends the status quo, the American people are angry and want change, and they're right. Today, while the very rich are doing phenomenally well, 60% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, and we have more income and wealth inequality than ever before. Unbelievably, real inflation accounted for weekly wages for the average American worker are actually lower now than they were 50 years ago. Sanders continues. Today, despite an explosion in technology and worker productivity, many young people will have a worse standard of living than their parents. And many of them worry that our artificial intelligence and robotics will make a bad situation even worse. Today, despite spending far more per capita than other countries, we remain the only wealthy nation not to guarantee health care to all as a human right. And we pay, by far, the highest prices in the world for prescription medicine. We, alone among major countries, cannot even guarantee paid family and medical leave. Today, despite strong opposition from a majority of Americans, we continue to spend billions funding the extremist Netanyahu government's all-out war against the Palestinian people, which has led to the horrific humanitarian disaster of mass malnutrition and the starvation of thousands of children. Will the big money interests and well-paid consultants who control the Democratic Party learn any real lessons from this disastrous campaign? Will they understand the pain and political alienation that tens of millions of Americans are experiencing? Do they have any ideas as to how we can take on the increasingly powerful oligarchy, which has so much economic and political power? Probably not. Sanders concludes, in the coming weeks and months, those of us concerned about grassroots democracy and economic justice need to have some very serious political discussions. Stay tuned. Okay. Now, he doesn't give a fuck. He's already been boned forcibly by the Democratic Party. By the way, he was just elected to his fourth 6-year term in the Senate. Wow. Fake Freebeer writes, I can't take Sanders serious. He bows to the party even though they have screwed him twice. Until they lose badly, then he's tough on them. At the end of the day, do I think any of this is going to matter? Of course not. It's going to be business as usual for a long, long time. So strap yourselves in. There ain't a damn thing we can do about it. You're just going to have to let this guy try, do his thing, Trump, and live with the results. That's how elections work. Literally, all you can do is sit back and enjoy it. Not enjoy it, but take it in. It might not be the best thing. Or don't pay attention at all. There's literally nothing you can do. Might I suggest let it unfold? Maybe it'll be great. I doubt it. But he's got 4 years to figure this shit out. Jeremy says further, the DNC needs to realize that abortion and good vibes are not enough to win an election. Becky says if he deports everyone, the construction and farm industries will crumble. Well, Trump's plan is to deport people that are in the country illegally. Not every Mexican worker that works in construction and farm industries, is in here without appropriate paperwork. Some are. And that's just something that people are going to have to deal with. All right. That's pretty much all I have about that. Thanks for all the questions and comments. I should say comments, no questions. I mean, come on. I'm still getting people on Q100 trying to figure out where I stand on things. Now, they don't know about the podcast. But I made it very clear. I don't talk politics on Q100. Joe Martinez says, finally, the white people are going out to the fields to work. Is that right? I didn't know that. TikTok Garbage says, you ignored me, LOL. I don't recall. I didn't see the first one. And by the way, this TikTok Garbage person is new. I don't recognize the name. If you're not on Twitch, it's more difficult for me to see the comment. So if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, sometimes it's a challenge. So I'm not sure what exactly you wanted me to talk about, but I'll be happy to engage you. Meanwhile, though, speaking of that, I am going to cut you folks loose that are watching on Facebook. How do you feel about people calling MAGA people cucks? That is the question. How do you feel about people calling MAGA people cucks? How do I feel about MAGA calling? What do you mean? Like, should I be mad at people for attacking others? I don't know. I can't tell anybody what to do. I mean, I call MAGA people stupid all the time and dumb. I think I did that yesterday. I said there's too many people that support MAGA who are dumb. Not all of them, but many of them are dumb. I am all for Americans insulting another Americans. Half of this shit is okay because the guy at the top does the same goddamn thing. I don't give a fuck about people saying mean words about other people. I have to deal with that shit all the time. I don't care. You got to have thick skin. You got to be a big girl or a big boy in this world. And if some asshole wants to call you a nasty name, well, tough shit. Get over it, bitch. That's what I say. I am a big supporter of looking at somebody stone in the face and telling them they're a fucking asshole. So don't try to come into here and start shit in your stupid fucking way. You twat. I know what the fuck you're doing. Bob says don't kink shame, except feet people. They're weird. That's bullshit. The foot is a beautiful part of the human body. I prefer feet over boobs. As long as they're attractive feet. If a lady takes care of her foot appropriately and it's not shaped like a goddamn tennis racket, all right? I don't like stumpy, blocky feet. I like athletic feet. All right. So, yeah, I have no problem with anybody referring to anybody as a nasty name. Kenny says, I prefer a sexy neck over feet any day. I used to get laughed at for that. Necks can be super sexy. Chris says this makes more sense now why Easy helped with NFK's feet. No, those are not attractive feet. They look like dead fish. All right. Anyway, on Facebook and YouTube, thanks for being here, but I'm going to send you on your way. Thank you. Before you go, though, follow the show on Twitch. Then you get the show in its entirety, and everybody sees your comments. If you're on Facebook or YouTube, those aren't the biggest platforms for me. Twitch is where it's at, and that's where everybody has all the fun. So you go to twitch.tv/Eric Zane Live, or you download the Twitch app and search Eric Zane Live. That's how you do it. I have a Patreon with new content going up there every single day of the week, and I want you to be part of it. You go to patreon.com/Eric Zane. It's an additional platform where I put up more content, and there's no sponsors involved with that. It is a paid platform, so it costs you $5 or $10 a month. $5 is all the audio, $10 is all the audio, the video, and the live streams. And you can try it for 7 days free. patreon.com/Eric Zane. Patreon.com/Eric Zane. Thank you. As well, the free podcast is available for download wherever you download shows. If you want to reach out to me via email, eric@ericzaneshow.com. I check it constantly. Drop me a line with something that you want to talk about or whatever it is. Hate mail, good mail, whatever you want. I don't care. It is brought to you by Shoreliners Striping. Online at shorelinerstriping.com.